We might react to that. But I'm kind of curious about this video. I'm gonna watch this video. It's called Young Don and SNEAKO Debate Asian Hate in the Black Community. I think this is an interesting conversation to have, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it. But a lot of the violence from that's targeted towards Asians does happen. It's predominantly from Black people. That doesn't mean that it's not like an inherent trait. There's something going on there. I know that there's a lot of animosity, I think, between even honestly Asian communities and Black communities. Like that's just the reality. And so I think this is like a very interesting and a good conversation to have. So I want to watch it, see what they have to say. Provide this old white boy a little context.
It's time to have the conversation. Yes, right here we have the one and only SNEAKO, who has come to speak about a controversial topic that we started a dialogue about yesterday. SNEAKO dropped a video titled The Truth About Blacks and Asians in America.
That's a good ass title.
It's a good title. In response to that video, I then dropped a video titled SNEAKO, You're Wrong. And brother, you were wrong. But with that said, SNEAKO, being the type of dude he is, reached out to me and said he wanted to have this conversation live on stream, to which I accepted, and thus here we are. Before we get into the heart of the topic, I want to just introduce this whole situation. Asian hate in the Black community. That is what we are going to be discussing. The truth about Blacks and Asians in America. Without further ado, for those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Young.
It's unfortunate because I know a lot of different, it's not even just, I wouldn't even say that it's just like Black people. A lot of like people don't like, okay, a lot of like even other Black cultures, like African cultures, don't like Black American culture, I guess is what you'd say. And I'm not like, it's a general observation. Like, and this is from personal experience. I've called like people from Haiti Black before, and then I've also gone to the hospital. Okay, they don't like to be associated with Black people. When it comes to like a cultural argument, that culture would come from like historical systemic racism. I'm not talking about like any perspective that like is shitting on Black people. I'm just saying that's an observation that I've made, and it's a conversation to have. It gets a little bit like nuanced. A lot of people who I feel like have this conversation, I feel like they have it in a way that's supposed to be diminishing to Black people or Black Americans, rather than to like try to be as contextually accurate and like actually investigate and figure out what's happening as much as possible. So just with the experience.
Don the Sauce God, but most people call me Don. I'm a YouTuber. I've been a full-time YouTuber for the past almost 5 years. I have one channel, 2.4 million subscribers, Young Don the Sauce God, where I tell true life stories from a comedic perspective, and I animate them. Just a way to share with the world things that have happened to me that I think are relatable. And so I put it on the internet for y'all to enjoy. I have a second channel, a reaction channel, where I share some of my more controversial takes or thoughts. I talk about things that are happening in the world. That's Young Don the Sauce God too. And I also have a podcast channel. And on that channel, I have 2 co-hosts. That one has 80,000 subscribers. The second channel has 207,000 subscribers. That's who I am. The most important thing to me when it comes to this online shit is honesty and integrity. And my ethnic background, I am Jamaican. I was born and raised in Jamaica. I have 2 Jamaican parents. I moved to America when I was 16 years old. And, the rest is history. So with that, I want to bring SNEAKO back onto the screen. SNEAKO, go ahead and introduce yourself in particular. And SNEAKO also has a channel with 1 million subscribers. He also has a second channel with over 200,000 subscribers.
Me too. Just don't go look for it, okay? It's hard to find. Don't go. It's hard to find channel, okay, guys?
140 in the second.
Oh, 140. Oh, okay. All right. That's still dope.
And yeah. I just hit a mill. I just hit a mill on the main. That was a big deal.
Yeah, no, those are huge accomplishments. So congrats on that.
Hey, I just quick, like I was gonna save like the dick sucking for the end, but like I've been watching you since like 4 or 5 years. I was like thinking back to it, like before I started taking YouTube seriously around 2017. Sitting in college, my roommate, my man Toby, he showed me your channel, like the anime story times from way back, and he was like, when I first started, I didn't want to make like a spammy, algorithm channel.
Yeah.
And so he was pointing me out to like channels that he's like, oh, yo, I fuck with this guy, Young. I'm like, yo, all these YouTubers suck. And he showed me your channel, and I was really fucking with your story times from like back when, before I started like really taking YouTube seriously, before I knew what you looked like. I was just listening to your story time, and I've been watching your second channel for a while, the stream clips and everything, like listening to you. Like you have a good approach that's not like quite red pill, but it's like it's enough red pill that men need. Like we need to hear more of this stuff, and we need like that type of guidance. And I think that you're spreading a lot of good ideas, and I do appreciate the open discussion.
Well, I really appreciate all that, man. That's crazy because I've also been a fan of your content for some years now. I remember watching that one video where I think it was about smoking weed. You was lying down on the train tracks, I think, in the thumbnail, if I remember that correctly. You know what video I'm talking about? Yeah, I saw that video. I remember when you posted that video about the Andrew Schultz situation. So yeah, I've been hit to you for a while as well. I know that you got ties to that one dude in Austin. Can't remember his name right now.
Easy K.
Yeah. So I've been, yeah, you know, like you've been on my radar for a while as well, and I've enjoyed plenty of your content, which is why, you know, when I saw the video you posted, what it really, the emotion or the feeling I can best use to describe how it made me feel was disappointing.
Right, yeah. But okay, so what? Let's break it. I'm not even sure exactly what you thought I was wrong about.
This is such a big topic. This can easily get lost in the weeds, so I did lay out some structure here, and you know, if you allow me, let me guide it through the structure, and I feel like we'll address every point that there is to be addressed, and you know, we'll both have an opportunity to speak. All I ask is that, you know, we're gonna be respectful of each other. We're gonna, you know, try not to talk over each other, and I think in doing that, and then at the end, you know, if we didn't touch on anything you still wanted to touch on, then of course we're free to do that. There's no real time limit here. I imagine this won't go over 2 hours, but you know, I think we can touch on everything in under 2 hours. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the basis of our disagreement, right? So, and you'll be given an opportunity to correct me if I'm wrong on your stand, right? So SNEAKO's stance is that there is a disproportionate amount of violent crimes being committed against the Asian community by members of the Black community, fueled by racism.
I wouldn't say fueled by racism in the same way that people have the idea about racism that white people have. Like the standard idea of racism is a white idea, is that looking down at and thinking we're better and like using a system of privilege. Like that's what people think of, I think, when you say racist. This, like the Asian attacks,
I disagree with. Okay, so I understand like the systemic aspect of racism and white people like you know, we have control. We have control. We have control over like systemic racism. I do understand that to like an extent, but I don't think that like individual white people have this am I gonna lose it? I don't think that individual white people have this concept of racism that's like, yeah, we just think we're better than people. Everybody, I think, on an individual level has like the same perspective on like racism for the most part. Like individuals think that like they're better than other people, or a lot of it comes down to very superficial like tribalism and in groups where it's like, oh, listen, I see somebody that looks more like me, I'm more comfortable around those people. I don't know. I've personally like experienced the way racism, like the majority of racism that like I've experienced was like where I used to work, and like different groups were racist towards other groups, but they still liked everybody. Like, okay, the Hispanic mechanics were like kind of racist towards white, black people, whatever, but like they were really great guys. I don't know, like it was just kind of like these ideas, and like there were shitty ideas, and it was like white people did it too, the black people there did it too, and it was like out of ignorance, but like they didn't hate anybody. They would just like, they would operate off of stereotypes first, and then they'd get to know you, and then everything was fine, and then they would just lose this game called balloons, and everybody would cry, and we'd all get upset. But yeah, it's weird. I just find it weird when people assign the concept of systemic racism, I know what I did wrong now, I think, to like all white people in this way where like, yeah, well, white people are somehow like more actively racist individually. Yeah, the system was obviously created by white people, but I'm just saying.
It's just calculated the way like racist white people are. It's just an act of frustration, and it happens to Asians because Asians are weak. And I looked at the statistic you put in from the NBC, that hate crime statistic, and it lumps in all hate crime, which is like calling someone a chink or calling someone a goop. That's a hate crime. I'm not talking about that. Or like there's somewhere there was like, you know, there was a salon, a nail salon, a white guy shot up a nail salon, like 7 people got killed. That's a white crime. Like shooting up 7 people, like I'm not saying that's a white. There's
this additional nature when it comes to like white people, when it comes to like really white racists. I'm not talking about like your casual kind of like normal everyday racist. From like when it comes to like super racist, there just seems to be like, I don't know, there's more of like a fear or a power when it comes to white people. Like, bro, you see this shit like where they'll do like these mass shootings because they're afraid that white people are going to be replaced. I think that the best thing you could say is that there's more media coverage and attention favoring a more racist white perspective, specifically from like Fox News and like Tucker Carlson promoting like the Great Replacement Theory. And that encourages more like toxic racism. I think that that's probably the biggest thing I would say. The biggest difference is that there's more of like a system that provides the rhetoric to be mainstream and blasted. Where you don't like, I've never seen like a station that was like Asian people, you know, encouraging other Asian people in America or something. You know what I mean? But okay.
Crime. What I was specifically talking about is like a brick to the head, or an old lady getting pushed over in the train tracks, or like what happened in the video, specifically that video, like she got shoved over in the parking lot. That crime, like that's not really reported in the hate crime statistics because they're gonna lump in everything.
So to address the article that I mentioned in my video, and I'm going to address that article in a little bit more at length in a moment. But to be fair, you know, I reacted to that video on the live stream. On the live stream, I can't spend an hour digging through all the articles.
I understand, because like I actually did. After I did the video, I looked for.
But wait, SNEAKO, let me finish. So in doing so, biases may have been overlooked on both sides, as you did, you know, or as your editor put in the video. Biases may have been overlooked on the articles we use, but I have come prepared with new information for you to show you that my stance on the matter is still everything I said in regards to the amount of hate crimes, violent or non-violent, are still not being majority committed by black people. And so to start it off, right?
Okay. My question here is he referring to it in a proportionate sense or into an overall sense? From what I've seen, it's the statistics from what I've seen are that black people disproportionately cause more hate crimes towards Asian people. When you look at something from a proportionate perspective, you're looking at it as like, okay, if 60% of the country is white and 15% of it's black, and like, you know, but 30% of the hate crimes towards Asian people are from black people, and then 30% and then like 40% are from white people, you would say that there's still black people proportionate to their size, like to their population, are causing crimes towards Asian people at a higher rate. So I wonder if they're going to get into it, if it's an overall figure or if a proportionate figure, because it's the proportionality that you're usually going to focus on in these situations.
Just wanted to, because why then if it is not race, right? You, in your video, you made a statement that it's pretty much all black people, right? You pulled out a number, you're like 98%.
Yeah, and I said I took it out of my ass. Like I wasn't right. I'm going off of like personal. Yeah. This is anecdotal. Like there's no, and I can't find the exact statistic. This is why it's anecdotal.
Wouldn't you want to look it
up?
up?
The premise, the main issue.
So I guess he's saying as an Asian person, he's seen mostly black people. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Your video was that you communicated your points in such a way. I mean, I had several issues with your stance in regards to the severity by which you made it seem, you know, and the intentions by which these crimes are being committed. And you also, towards the end of your video, asked for some accountability on behalf of the greater black community, as if this is a black issue, as if this is a problem that is prolific in the black community.
This is not an issue that's like widespread throughout the black community. It's not. But what I do think that the accountability should be like, all right, like I've been to these Stop Asian Hate protests.
You know, I wonder if one of the reasons why there's a disproportionate, like, higher amount of crime is just because of like proximity, because a lot of communities in general tend to okay, so people generally tend to like stick to their own. It's like one of those things where there's like segregation, but some of it's like almost willful segregation. Not all of it. I'm not saying that we didn't have a problem forcefully segregating black people, because we totally did. But like if you notice, Asian communities, like they tend to be like a lot of Asian people in the community. Same thing with black communities, though there's obviously a historical aspect there. But either way, I wonder if like it would make sense to me if in America those communities tended to be less financially, they had less money in those communities, and so they were kind of like just closer to each other. Does that make sense? And so just being poor communities tend to have higher violence. And so I wonder if the reason is just because there's like proximity of like, here's a black community and here's an Asian community, and they tend to not have a lot of money. And like in areas with not a lot of money, there tends to be more crime. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Like I've been, and it's
SNEAKO lives in New York City. Yeah, okay. I mean, that would make sense to me.
That it's everybody,
because there's Asian communities in New York City. Like, you're aware of that, right? Like, you're aware. I hope you're aware of that. It's like a real thing. It's so interesting because I just went to like a mall that was in like an area that was like predominantly Asian and black. So I like, maybe it's just like a proximity thing. It's very interesting that maybe that's what it really boils down to.
Most of the violent attacks are black people, and so we're kind of like living in this thing, and people always assume that the racist person...
But it's not. Most of the violent attacks are not black people. And if you have information to back that up, you know, I'll gladly review it with you. But
what's your information? Like I got some from my editor Musi sent me after, like for the stream, but like what do you have to?
So all right, let me get.
So somebody said they're generally closer, but most Asians are immigrants, and immigrants typically don't like black people. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like before, like a lot of people in other countries that come here, especially other immigrants, they look down on Black Americans because of like from a cultural perspective. And let's keep in mind, like whatever culture is in like Black communities in America, it comes from like historical systemic racism. So let's not pretend that like Black people are intrinsically like fucking, you know, whatever. Like I guess like have like proportionally committing more crimes. It has everything to do with like not just like poverty, but also like really historical. You can talk about like historical trauma and like segregation or different forms of systemic racism. But a lot of people do look down on Black Americans, even like people from Africa, like Black people, they come over and they don't like Black America. A lot of it just happens. And I said maybe that's part of the problem as well, is a lot of people, they'll come over and they're like, I don't like Black people, but then they live within proximity, so like it causes like issues.
To that, but now that we've laid out the basis of our initial disagreement, right? It all boils down to the fact that I disagree with the idea that Black people are disproportionately committing hate crimes against Asians when compared to other races. You know, before I even get to that,
what does that mean?
There are a few things I want to say, because my goal for this conversation, right, is to at the very least quell some of the tension, some of the animosity that seems to be breeding between the Asian and the Black community as a result of this misinformation and as a result of this incorrect stereotype that seems to be popular in the Asian community in regards to Black people.
Do you think it's really a misinformation or a stereotype?
Like, I don't think. I know. And, you know, I can get to that. I want this to flow like a conversation.
This is not really a new thing, though. This has happened. Like Asians have had this idea about violence since, like, have you heard of the LA riots in '92? There's these pictures of these Korean store owners on top of the roofs with these shotguns, because like when they were rioting everything after Rodney King, the people who got targeted, a lot of them were the Korean store owners. You know what I'm saying? Which had nothing to do with the police, but they're looting and they got lumped in with that. The same thing happened in the looting in 2020. Like all Chinatown.
I'm trying to find a statistic, but it's like impossible to find these statistics for me for some reason when it comes to like specifically like Asian hate crimes by race. Let me look that up specifically.
All these stores, maybe they get lumped in with white people because Asians are the model minority. You get the same privileges, like up front, it looks like you get the same privileges as white people. So you get lumped in. But that Asian Black beef has always kind of been simmering. And I've known it since no,
hold on, wait. I'm not disagreeing at all that there isn't. In fact, I actually want to speak to the fact that there has been tension between the Black and Asian community for a long time. And in my video, I stated that I believe that is predominantly coming from the Asian side, or the reason why things have gotten to that place. And I do want this, you know, like this is my first ever stream interview.
Someone said maybe that's just like a disproportionate crime in general. Yeah, like we've already talked about that. I mean, maybe that's part of it too. Again, it's not because of like the color of their skin. It's just, well, I guess it is because of racism, systemic racism, but it's because of the conditions that people are born in. I just we need to stay away from this concept that like the particular races are inherently. I want to stay away from the stereotype that specific races are inherently more like violent or dangerous when they're not.
You know, I do respect you as a man and a content creator. So I do want to allow this conversation to flow like a real conversation. But at the same time, I do need to lead this conversation through some points that I've like. So
the only statistic I'm able to find is like here, and it's only talking about LA. And I don't know what the race demographics in Los Angeles. I can't spell Angeles, so I'm just gonna type it incorrectly. 40 police more. Okay. Yeah, Los Angeles. So what are the demographics? Okay, so it's 25% Hispanic, 8% Black, 15% Asian, 50% white. And so like, yeah, so based on this, there's a disproportionate, like, so if the population is 5% Black, but right, did I say 5%? 8%, but it's 19% of the hate crimes against Asians are Black. Meanwhile, you have a 50% Black white population, and 42% are coming from white people. That's proportionately higher. It doesn't mean that like that's all it is. If you guys find better information that disagrees with what I'm saying, send it to tell me in the thing, and I'll look at it. You could send it to me and tell me and whatnot. That's just my understanding.
Structure, because I formed that structure based on our two videos, and I don't want us to get lost in the weeds and start talking about random anomalies and things. Everything that I'm going to say, I know you're looking at me on Zoom. Are you also, do you have like a screen for the stream?
Stream now, you upload it.
Okay. Because one thing I would like to do is on this screen right here, or actually right here, this screen, you know, I have a screen where I'm able to pull up exactly, because I'm not just going to mention things, right? I want to be able to pull up stuff. You're going to be able to see it. The chat will be able to.
Just want to see what this says here. They have a thing pulled up. Hate crime statistics. Annual compilation. I wish we could find this. This is the Department of Justice. Does he have these statistics linked in the chat below? Twitter link statistics to disprove. Okay. Okay, let's look at this. In August 2021, the Federal Bureau of Investigation released Hate Crime Statistics 2020, an annual compilation of bias-motivated incidents in the United States. Though the number of reporting agencies decreased, the overall number of reported incidents, contribute to a total of the hate crimes against the victims, while annual law enforcement agency participated may influence the statistics. Okay. According to this year's data, 60% of victims were targeted because of the offender's bias towards racial ethnicity okay, so they're only saying that like 62% of them were targeted for the bias, but it's still considered a hate crime, which continues to be the largest bias motivated. Okay, participants, okay, blah, blah, blah. Agency reported, okay, so this is a federal, okay. Anti-black, anti-white, anti-Asian. Okay. I guess we'll scroll down to the Asian one. Religion. This doesn't have a racial statistic here though. I'm not seeing anything about race. Like I'm seeing races targeted but not received from. So this statistic doesn't really do anything for us. Let me put this on the other screen and like that's not what I wanted to do. And we'll continue to watch this while I try to look at the information they're providing, but to
see it. And so you know, that's the way, you know, that's something I want you to keep in mind. But you know, first let me acknowledge that there has definitely been an increase, and this is me now going through the various points, right? And wait, say something real quick. Okay, all right. So I want to go through the video point by point, right? All right, so first and foremost, I wanted to acknowledge, yes, there has been an uptick in Asian.
There's a couple other things that talk about examples of racism in Asian cultures. So okay, let's see. Let me
in the American community in American society, right? According to 2020 FBI hate crime statistics, and I'll just go ahead and pull that up so we can get that on the screen. According to the 2020 FBI hate crime statistics released in 2021, there was a 77% increase in hate crimes committed against Asian Americans in comparison to 2020. So in the span of 1 year, there has been a 77% increase in hate crimes that have occurred, right? Going from a total of 100 from 2019 to 2020, going from a total of 158 total incidents, and I'll zoom in on that, to 279, right? And
yeah, but what do they even consider a hate crime? Like you said that at one point in your video, and that kind of confused me because you looked up like the statistics that favored what you were talking about, and then you believed them.
Well, this doesn't really matter because this is like overall number compared to population. So the population, there's like 15 times more black people in America than I'm pretty sure USA by I'm pretty sure about 15% of the population is black and like 1% is Asian. So there's 15 times more. Let's see, 12% black. This is from 2019, a little old, but it should be fine. It's probably gone up, but it is 12% black and 5% Asian. Okay, so I was actually way off. I thought it was much different. Is there a 2022 statistic? Okay, so there seems to be about twice as many black people than white people, which makes sense for black people to experience more hate crimes. That makes sense in America. The only thing I'll say is that like there being more hate, like we're talking about where it comes from specifically. I wonder if there's a similar amount of hate crimes towards black people from Asian people than in the reverse. I wonder if it's like a mutual thing. Is that what you'd say?
But then you looked up the black population, then you said that you don't believe statistics, so that because they manipulate. So I mean, like this is FBI. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, who else, if we're not going to trust the FBI, who are we going to trust?
No, I agree that we can trust these statistics. We can go off of them, but like, you know, at the same time, like how.
So your problem with that statement, right? So we're going to get into those finer details.
These don't matter. None of this stuff matters. There's just individual aspects of racism. I mean, they're not good. Like this Chinese museum accuses of racism yeah, this makes sense. Like especially in China, really racist country. In Japan, really racist country. You could look it up. But we're supposed to be we're talking about this in America. I'm pretty sure that's the basis of this argument, at least from what SNEAKO is saying. And so far, like we could absolutely find instances of racism from Asians to black people, Asians. All we're really discovering is the proportionality of those hate crimes coming from, you know, Asians or coming from black people towards Asians, and then I guess in the reverse as well.
In a moment, I'm just trying to acknowledge that yes, there has been an uptick.
Yeah, like the Karate Kid. Like I know that I think in the Black Panther movie they like removed like the Black Panther because he was black or something. Like they've done some really racist shit. Like there's a lot of racism. Like we're not denying that.
In crime against Asian people, hate crime in all regards, right? Verbal and physical. I'm just trying to acknowledge that because I don't want it to be to seem as if I am just, you know, it's like I'm anti-Asian or I'm trying to undermine the very real issue. Yes, I am. Yeah, my wife
so you
is
can't be
half Asian.
anti-Asian. Like, I don't think anyone in the chat thinks you are. I don't think anyone in the chat thinks I'm anti-black. I don't even think you do.
Right. No, I don't think you're anti-black at all. And in fact, one thing I did want to question about what is.
I mean, you can have an Asian wife and still be like racist to Asian people. It's less likely, obviously. I'm just saying.
Ethnicity. What is your breakdown?
My dad is from Haiti, and he's half white, half black. And my mom is Filipino. So that makes me 25% black, 25% white, and 50% Filipino.
Oh shit.
The breakdown.
Okay.
Very
So
cool.
you're 25% black, 50% Filipino, and what was the other one?
And 25% white, but I don't have any white family. I don't know them. So my family's all in Haiti and the Philippines.
From like a racial perspective in America, he wouldn't be considered white at all. Like you look at him and you'd think that like he's Asian or losing a game at level 1. God damn it. You wouldn't he just wouldn't be considered white. Like that's just how people would look at him in society. He would you know what I'm saying? Just bringing it up.
I met my grandfather's side of the family.
And who do you identify with? Who do you what portion of your ethnicity like when you see yourself?
I say Blasian. Like for real, I'm mixed. I don't like. I think you could tell in the video. That's why I talked about it in the first place, because like I'm conflicted. At the same time, like I identify with black as much as I identify with Asian, and white is a little bit hard to like consider because white people don't consider me white. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough. It's like being this. It's tough to like. Because when you see stuff like this happening, like it's hard. You know what? You have to pick a side or some shit. I just thought that I could accurately talk about it because I'm mixed.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, man, I think there were some inconsistencies. You said a few things that were incorrect, but I want to, so SNEAKO, I'm about to just get this off, right? And then you go ahead and respond, all right? So first and foremost, right? Yes, there's been an uptick in crimes. Yes, black people have been a participant of those crimes, both violent and verbal. And when I say verbal, I'm talking about like racial slurs and things of that nature. And I acknowledge that it is sickening to see these acts. You know, you can pull up videos and imagery and see the actual evidence of black people, you know, being violent and committing these violent crimes against Asians, oftentimes women, oftentimes elderly, and it's sickening. You know what I mean? And as a black person, black people know that pain all too well. You feel me? I mean, just referring back to the 2020, the 2020 hate crime statistics, right? Just look at that number. You know, it's 287 hate crimes committed against black. We can be sure that several of those, you know, had to do with violence, where violence was involved. We don't need to look any further back than, you know, a kid like Tamir Rice, who, 12-year-old boy playing with a BB gun in a park, shot on camera, shot by a cop. You feel me? The cop was suspended for 8 days, came back, and then, you know, was able to go back to work. You know, I know exactly that emotion, that passion, that anger that you would have feel, that you expressed when you were talking about how it made you feel to see these videos. And lastly, I just again want to acknowledge that yes, you know, both videos that we initially did, there were biases in the articles we used. However, my article, though it was biased because the woman, it came from NBC, which is, you know, a left-leaning news organization. We know you can't hear SNEAKO right now. He's not talking. He's allowing me to get this off, right? And then I'm going to mute myself and allow him to get off what he's got to say. And then we'll respond back and forth like that. Otherwise, you know, we're just going to keep responding, you know, ping pong, and that I don't feel is as constructive. With that said, still was a reputable news source that I got my information from. Also, the author of the article, the study that I did use, she is a Chinese professor at the University of, I believe it was Maryland, right? So while streaming live, you feel me, trying to find information on the fly, you know, I wasn't able to dig that deep into it. So that information was used in good faith. Nonetheless, because I did look deeper into that article, though it exaggerated the disparity between whites and blacks and Latinos in terms of who is committing most of these Asian hate crimes, it's still, my opinion was still correct. Because
why did he edit this conversation? Like, that was a jump cut.
In terms of who is committing most of these Asian hate crimes, it's still,
it feels weird when you edit hate like this kind of stuff. Okay.
My opinion was still correct because the real information, and which we'll get to as we go on, still supports that statement that the majority of hate crimes being committed.
I'm just gonna say we're like 20 minutes in. There's like we haven't really gotten anywhere. We should let's look at the statistics that they have. I would like to see
against Asians in this country are white, and that in several instances the even Latinos, such as in LA County, which I'll talk about later, even Latinos have been recorded. And this is information that I gathered, which all the links, all the stuff I'm going to be mentioning will be in the link in the description for those watching this playback on YouTube. That is information I got directly from the LAPD crime reports statistics, right? No news organization. But we'll get into that in a second to show you that as an example, LA County being the second most populated area in America with
The LA County statistics that we looked up reinforced the idea that there was a disproportionate amount of crime from black people to white people. So I don't know what he's referring to.
With Asians after New York. Now, that said, I'm gonna let you respond to, you know, what I just said, and, you know, go ahead and...
Wait, am I still muted?
No, you're not muted.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I guess overall what I'm
Wait,
doing...
why is he muting people? Like, what? Just, you could just generally expect them to not talk, but okay.
We were talking is that you can simplify my argument. I don't mean that black people are committing all hate crime towards, like, hate crime is too general. When you look at these statistics, I'm talking about a specific thing, like an old Asian lady getting pushed over. You know, I'm talking about a lady.
So you believe black people are...
Bro, listen, no offense. I don't like this guy. I really don't like this this individual here, because if you notice, I don't, it's not his perspective. The first thing is that we're not even talking about statistics. He's very rhetorically based. We're 20 minutes in, nothing's really been said. But the biggest issue is that he's muting SNEAKO while he's talking, and now he's interrupting SNEAKO. This guy, like, do you not see this? This is like, this guy... Like, he's not, I don't think that he's a fair person. He doesn't seem like a fair person. This is young Don the Sauce God. He's not being fair. Like, he's just like, why are you muting him so he can't interrupt you, but then you're interrupting him almost immediately, and you're doing a ton of editing cuts. I don't like that either. It's supposed to be a conversation. It feels like there could potentially be a motive of removing some of the things that are being said to favor your perspective. It seems like you're trying to steamroll this guy.
Are committing most of the violent hate crimes.
Not even just violent hate crimes, but the ones...
Are committing most...
Asian lady getting pushed over. You know, I'm talking about a lady...
So you believe black people are committing most of the violent hate crimes?
Not even...
I don't think... I mean, like, listen, he doesn't... I don't know if he knows... It's not about what most is absolute. We're talking about proportionately. Like, yeah, that's the proportionality of it. For sure. I mean, so far from, like, if we're quoting Los Angeles, I looked at the statistic before, and, like, yes, based on their crime statistics, the Asian people receive more hate crime, like, receive more or hate crimes more by black people than Asian people. This is, I'm just saying, it's a statistic.
Even just violent hate crimes, but the ones where they know there's going to be no retaliation.
What do you mean?
What that means, yeah. It seems like SNEAKO's just he's not super strong on his point, which is why he's probably going to get steamrolled here.
Talking about, like, a lady getting hit with a brick in the head, like this lady was punched 500 times when she was trying to enter her apartment, pushed over in the parking lot.
It was 157.
Somebody said not only that, but these crimes are happening in the city. There's a lot more Asian people in the city comparing overall population number. Interesting. That's an interesting point. There's more Asian people in cities than there are. Okay. All right, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, whatever it was. You read that one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I looked into it. I looked into a lot of
ones where it's not going to be, it's unprovoked and there's no retaliation, and it's like usually like an older lady, an older man. Like that's usually a black person. That's specific hate crime.
Do you have statistics to say that?
I don't.
So here was my issue.
Yeah, but you're not going to find a statistic for that.
But here's the thing: you can't just make.
A difficult point
you
to
see,
work from
who controls the media? Who controls your perception? The media.
Right. I agree, but my problem is that the media...
Bro, he just talked about how it's a little weird. Where now we're getting into the conspiracy argument. Like, I understand the media has like a big impact on the way people think and feel. When it came to the Stop Asian Hate thing, though, the media tried to not say it was like black people as much as possible, because like usually what pops in the media is like racist white people, right? I'm just saying that's just a thing that happens. I'm not sitting here saying boo-hoo white people. Okay, but you just talked about how you looked at a biased news source. You're like, yeah, but it's and then you're like, we have to trust the FBI. But then now you're like, but who controls this and who controls me? It seems like you kind of are leaning on a conspiracy theory when it favors your perspective, but when it doesn't favor your perspective, you know, then all of a sudden, like, you're kind of discounting these conspiracy theories. Like, at least be consistent. If you're going to, you know, be a bit conspiracy-esque, we'll say. Yeah, I control the media.
Not
true.
Kind of portraying that. What the media is portraying, and like the article that you showed up, that was NBC News, mainstream news, they're pointing out that they're trying to say that it's not black people, and that's why they list hate crime, and that's why they said that it's white. It's more than white people, because the hate crime is also including verbal assault. So in mainstream news, like, it's not really reporting this.
But of course, but here's the thing: you wouldn't know about this. Do you know any of these Asian people personally?
Yeah, the video that I'm talking about is a personal friend. Like,
which video? Friend. Which video?
The video that I was reacting to in that
this
video.
All over the place.
Okay.
He's not a friend of mine. I've met him at parties before, and he's friends with like my friend. He's a mutual friend. He messaged me afterward, and he said thank you. Like I had not messaged him before.
Sure.
He messaged me, said thank you. Like, and he said that this happened multiple times to his mom.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, you care about Asian people? Name every one. It's like, oh, you care about black people? Name every black person in America. Come on.
But I asked him, like, was it black people? He said, yeah, like every time. And then he told me, like, that's why he had to lecture his parents about Black Lives Matter.
But SNEAKO, here's what I'm saying though. Okay, I'm saying the majority of these incidents that you're aware of, you learned about them through the news.
Not really through social media. Like
you're quoting the news. Who cares if it's from the news? You can't. Like, not everything can be. Hold on. Not every. You can't lean into the conspiracy thing. Because then, there's no evidence that this guy could come up with that'll be satisfactory to you because it's all conspiracy. So you're arguing from like kind of a dishonest point.
Word of mouth, like the ones that I talked about in the video, the protest. I stood outside this hospital, Elmer's. This lady was in a coma because she got hit with a brick at 7 a.m. That was local shit in Queens.
Yeah, but that these messages, right, are getting amplified on the news for people to talk about them.
I saw from China Mac's Instagram story.
And where do you think China Mac got that information?
From Queens. He lives in Queens. Like, this is not even really like mainstream stuff.
And it didn't make the news.
What's happening here?
I don't think so. Like, I didn't hear about it. I didn't hear about it on the news. Like, I'm
so dishonest, bro. Like, there's the statistics don't matter to this guy because everything's a conspiracy if it disagrees with him. This is fucking nuts.
You have this idea that I'm being manipulated by the news. This is all word of mouth shit. This is stuff that I'm seeing on my Instagram story.
What I am trying to say is that the very fact that you're hearing about this, though, the very fact that these stories are in the news, because I'm sure if I look it up, these stories are going to be on the news. The point I'm making is I don't believe that it is true that, one, I don't believe it's true that it's not getting reported, that black people the media is intentionally not reporting when hate crimes when they violent hate crimes get caught on video and the news is intense.
It's not that they don't report it, but like, let's be honest here. It's it is a generally more palatable narrative on progressive media to talk about like white people being the ones committing crimes. Oftentimes when it's a white person committing a crime, they'll say that they're white. If they're not white, a lot of times they leave that information out. It's just an observation. I'm just saying that's kind of just how things work nowadays. That's just kind of the reality. I'm just saying. So yeah.
Actually not reporting them. No, they're not. I'm sure every single one of the big ones you can think of, if we look it up, we can find an NBC or a CNN or a CBS news piece on it. So to say that, like,
well, how about chat? We talk about it. Like, did you hear about this? Did you hear about the lady that got hit with the brick? No,
I'm not saying that it did. I'm not saying that it didn't happen.
About the one that I reported about in the video, like
this
the lady getting shoved
quite
over.
A conversation.
Like, shoves happen every day. It's not a news story every single time.
But here's the thing, though.
Chat say not.
Here's
really.
the thing, but statistically,
the misconception is that I'm getting it from mainstream news, and like I'm telling you, that's not. Bro, I don't watch the news.
Yeah, no, but you are falling for the narrative that it is all black people. Ask yourself this: if the numbers pan out,
how is that a narrative? If it's personal,
just look at the numbers.
I'm not following a narrative. I'm following like personal experiences.
Okay, so you personally, anecdotally, have known certain Asian people who have been attacked, and those people coincidentally were black.
It's just funny because he's making it seem like a conspiracy. If you listen to the mainstream media, but then if this guy's like, I don't listen to the mainstream media, he's like, oh, so then you're presenting an anecdotal argument. It's like, okay, but you're saying it with a little bit of twang, where it's like, oh, it's anecdotal. That's bad too. It's like, oh, this guy can't win with anything he says.
Right?
And I'm telling you, like,
that's fucking insane.
It's been
but I'm saying you can't then, just because only the people know, just because only
just look at statistics
that you're aware
doesn't
of.
mean I can make a judgment about all black people.
You can't say about all black people, and you can't make a statement, right?
But he's not saying about all black people. He's just saying it's a disproportionate thing. But okay.
Let me finish. You can't make a statement that is just saying, oh, it's all black people, because you're disqualifying all of the one. You're not taking into account that black people aren't committing most of these crimes, and since that keeps coming up.
But nobody's saying most. Disproportionate is different from saying like most. Let's just keep that in mind too.
How about you go ahead and email me this statistic you have that is showing us that black people are disproportionately attacking Asian people.
I'm not trying to say that.
That's what when you say it's all black people, that's what you're saying.
I said before when I responded, like, I'm trying to simplify it and say, like, it's a specific type of crime, like a lady getting shoved into the train or getting beat or
this conversation's like, all over the place.
That's not white people. White crime is different. White crime is like
wait. But I'm saying you don't know that. You know for a fact. You've checked every.
You don't think that white people shoot up schools? Don?
Wait, that's not the point. The point is you don't think
they do tend to be school shooters.
All of the reported incidents of hate crime against Asians by white people, none of them are violent. Is that what you're telling me?
What?
It's a different.
Let's not pretend about the spa. Let's not, if you want to talk about white people shooting, didn't a white man go into? Hold on, wait, SNEAKO. Didn't a white man go into a spa and kill 6 Asians?
I'm not trying to say that white people are more racist than black people. That's not my point.
No. What is your point then?
My point is this specific type of crime and like the Stop Asian Hate movement is about crimes from black people. And the misconception is that it's everyone. But the specific crime and the reason people are protesting and this newer problem since COVID and the violence and like old ladies getting attacked, it's black people. And so I don't want to lump in all races because that's like a lady getting pushed over in the parking lot.
But here's the thing: how do you know a white man has not pushed over? How do you know out of all of the hundreds?
I don't know that. I don't know.
So by saying,
okay, but I'm asking you, like, genuinely now,
bro.
do you think it's more likely that that's going to be a black guy or white guy who shoves over a lady in the park?
I know for a fact that it's not a black man because the numbers don't suggest that. And if you're able to provide me the numbers, then I'll change my opinion. I don't really, because here's the thing: I'm black. I know I hang out with mostly black people. In my experience, majority of black people are not violent. I operate in black spaces. I play basketball.
Yeah, the majority of people are not violent. Yeah, for sure. This conversation is getting a little bit lost in the sauce here.
To the clubs, I've gone to parties. In my experience, black people are no more violent than their counterparts when you control for their socioeconomic status and the situation.
Yes.
100%. But what you're saying kind of disproves your narrative, though, right? Because black people tend to be poorer due to their socioeconomic status. So, like, we would just say proportionally, people who have less money are more, like, violent or more prone to crime. Black people are poorer. Why is that? It's because of, like, we talk about historical, like, systemic racism. But it still exists. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you go to the hood,
you're right. Violence is a poor problem. It's not a race problem.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Are you really?
It's more than that. Like, it's a poor and a race problem in the sense that, like, okay, like poor white people don't commit as much crime because they haven't been fucking, they haven't been racismed by the system. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not just that. It's like, okay, you have a poor white person. Usually, you'd probably say that their family wasn't really experiencing any issue with the police. It's a huge deal. Whereas, like, a lot of black people, they historically have faced issues with police, of course, with like fucking like unnecessary policing. And so what happens is like the feedback loop of like you're going to get targeted by cops for no reason, and so you don't respect cops, and then all of a sudden that kind of like trickles down, right? So like part of it is a race issue in the sense of being a target of racism, even if it's not personally targeted. Like maybe let's just say things were great now, which they're not, but let's say police officers were 100% fair and impartial now, which they're not again. But it doesn't matter because we still have like this historical trauma that like comes that manifests itself in not trusting police because of police in the past. Because obviously, like if you have a let's say as you grew up, you knew that there was like there was like a fucking pothole in like on a certain street. You'd be like, hey, avoid that street, don't go down that street. And then even if they filled the pothole, your kids are probably just still not going to go down that street. You know what I mean? Like it's something as simple as that.
America. Like the average black person.
But here, no. Oh, all right, go finish.
Do you think that in America, the average black person is not more violent than the average white person?
No.
Like overall, black people are not more violent than black people.
I don't. If you remove gang violence out of the equation,
well, you can, but
but you can't. Like that's the thing. It's like we're not saying it. I'm not saying it to be racist, but like there is a higher violence again, not because of their race. Well, and not in the immediate sense. Again, white people aren't targets of racism, but you get my point. So, okay.
But I'm saying no. You can't do that because
why?
Then you gotta. That is not no. But you're using. You have to no because gang violence is not a result of their nature. Gang violence is a result of the fact that these men are at war with each other. It's not because they're wired to be more violent. It's because they live in a war zone.
That's true.
But that's a conversation about nuance. So like if I sat here and said, look at the statistics, black people have like on average, like I think it's 15% or a 15-point lower IQ than white people. Black people are inherently stupid. That's incorrect. Because it's not a race thing, it's a socioeconomic thing. But when you like the reason that is because of like the lack of ability, generally speaking, or access to schooling. But it's still true. But it's why are we using the facts? Am I using this fact to make people understand? If I use that fact or that information to make you understand that there's an issue when it comes to resources in like particular communities, that's good. If I use it as a way to be racist, that's bad. So like SNEAKO, I don't think is trying to sit here and say black people are more violent because black people are just violent people. I think he's just having a nuanced conversation while stating the fact that it seems to be a disproportionately higher amount of violence from black communities to Asian community. Generally speaking, for various reasons that aren't like race related necessarily, but are like systemically related.
But I'm not saying the reason why, but I'm saying the average. Like statistically, black people are more violent in America than white people. On average, including gang violence.
No, If you,
It's true.
no. First of all,
what's true?
if you're gonna, you can't generalize the nature of black people by using gang violence. It doesn't make sense to do that. It's not about being fair. It's just that it doesn't. You said the average white man. Let me ask you a question. You don't think the average Latino gang member or white gang member is just as violent as the average black gang member?
Well, probably.
Nah, I think an average Crip could beat the shit out of the average KKK member.
I'm not asking who's a better fighter,
true,
but I'm saying who's more violent.
Yeah. So what's more violent to you? How do you describe violence?
I'm saying that regular white people, regular Asians, regular Latinos.
SNEAKO wants to have a nuanced conversation. This guy doesn't. Yeah, that's what I'm getting out of this.
Regular black people, the average person. I'm saying in general, we are all about the same level of.
I think that this guy, his name is Don, right? I think his point is that like he doesn't want black people to be generalized and like stereotyped in this way that makes it seem like all black people are violent. That's a fine thing to have a perspective on, but I think that the way he's doing it is by basically, it seems to be just like denying the existence of like honestly racism, or just denying the existence of like the disproportionality of hate crimes committed against Asian people by black people.
Aggressive.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you had to pick a boxer, say you had to pick up you're a boxing coach.
Okay.
You pick the white kid or the black kid.
I mean, Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champion of the world.
No, I'm asking you. You got to pick. You're a boxing coach. Like you have a fight coming up. You're gonna pick the 12-year-old black kid or a 12-year-old white kid.
I would pick the kid that looked like he could fucking box. What kind of a question is this? It's just like a racist fucking conversation. What? Why would I pick the kid that looks like he could beat the shit out of another kid? That's what I would choose based on the way they look, not their skin color.
The one who is the better fighter. And
no.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't reduce. You can't reduce.
It's just hypothetical. It's a hypothetical. We're not having like I'm just asking like.
You're asking me who I think is more athletic? Yes, I think black people are by and large more athletic than the average white person.
Maybe. I don't know.
But I don't believe
you trust more to win the fight.
The more athletic one. It's not because he's a more violent person. It's because he's a more athletic person.
But just play the game. Like you have to pick.
I gave you my answer.
This is an insane conversation.
I'm picking the black one
bro.
because he's more athletic. But that is besides the point. This is what I mean when I said I didn't want the conversation to get derailed. You feel me? The point I'm making is that no, I do not believe that the average black person is more violent than the average white person or the average Asian or the average Latino. I believe that people become violent when you put them in situations where they need to be violent. Situations of self-defense and desperation. But the average person is just minding their own business, going about their life. Furthermore, like I said in my video, I actually believe that black people, perfect example, if you want to go with anecdotal stuff, right now I'm in the middle of filming a documentary, documenting my fitness routine. This morning I took a bike ride. I stopped to record myself coming on the bike. I see this older, she looked like she could have been white or Asian woman coming up, and where we were, it was in a very secluded place, a lot of dense trees. I felt like I had to pick up my camera and ride down, 0.2 miles to a different location, just so like I don't even want, I'm subconsciously always worried that women like that, people like that especially in middle class and upper class neighborhoods are going to be nervous or, intimidated, and I just don't, it's hardwired into most black men. You don't want to make other people uncomfortable.
But you're arguing something that I'm not like.
No, so my point is I actually believe it's the opposite. I don't believe that the average black man is just as violent or more violent as you're suggesting. I think he's less violent because he's hyper aware of the fact that everybody else thinks exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but you don't think that there's more poor people in America that are black than white? There's more poor black people, right?
Oh, for sure.
No, actually, no. The poor whites outnumber them now.
For sure, statistically.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming if we talk about proportionality, there's probably more poor black people. Maybe there's more. I think we often forget about proportionality like halfway in this conversation. It's very bizarre. But okay.
Like, most of the homeless people are black. Most of the people on the train who are like.
But what is the point of what is your point in saying that?
So the people like. I was talking about this with a lot of my friends and family, like trying to figure out what they were thinking. They're like, well, it's not really black people because you can't generalize them because most black people, they're not going to do some shit like that. It's bums. It's people with nothing going on, crackheads, lost people. And that happens when you don't have like mental health treatment, money, when you're broke, when you're a bum.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point that in these situations, oftentimes when you do see black people attacking Asians,
the bummiest bums.
These are people
representation of black people at all. No,
these are people on drugs. These are people who are living in situations of poverty, and it must lead you to ask: then is this a situation where it's even about the fact? Is it that they're racist against Asians, or is it that they see an easy target?
That's what I'm saying. It is, and that's the point I think that you were confused about in my video. Like I wasn't saying that black people are racist towards Asians. Like I don't really think that black people even think about Asians that much because you don't have to.
I'm not saying. All right,
I was just saying, yeah, it is the easy target thing. Like an elderly Asian women, like when you see bums on the train who are looking to like get some aggression out, they're looking to make eye contact with someone. They're looking to pick a fight. They're looking for somebody who's not going to retaliate.
Are we saying that Asian people are just more feminine? Is that the argument here? Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if I've ever really heard that before. Okay.
9 out of 10 times, that's an elderly Asian woman. She's not going to fight back.
But what I'm saying, the narrative is stop Asian hate. I'm saying if someone looks like like a mark, whether it is they're trying to rob you, you know, I was gonna save this for later, but YG has a song called Meet the Flockers, and in it, the lyrics goes like this: find a house, scope it out, find a Chinese neighborhood because they don't believe in bank accounts. That is not saying, oh, find Chinese people because they're weak. Oh, find Chinese people because I hate Chinese people.
What's this fucking conversation?
He's saying it because there is this stereotype, whether it is true or not, and maybe you can speak to that. You know, my wife has confirmed that this is...
Well, I don't think a lot of this has to do with people happening. It's on the street, right? So if it's happening on the street, this wouldn't really happen in this way necessarily. I'm a little confused. Sorry, I'm just a little... it's a little bit suspicious, like a character from the popular hit video game Among Us, okay?
You know, has some legs, this statement, that Asians in general have cash in the house, especially older Asians. That's why, so it's about you looking like an easy target. It has nothing to do with the fact that we hate Asians. Okay, and so my issue, the racism in your video came into play when you started making generalizations, right? You said, oh, it's all black people. One, that is not true.
I didn't say all.
You did. I didn't play the video. You did say it is all.
And then you said 92%, and then I said I was talking on my ass and I didn't know.
Right, but I'm saying the number is infinitesimally smaller than that. And then also, when we talk about the fact that we talk about how rare these situations are, you also posed it in a way that suggested that this is a prevalent problem in the Asian community, that a lot of Asian, but it's not though, and we'll get to those numbers and I'll tell you why it's not.
It might be.
Have you talked to the Asian, like, have you been, like, this is, every
here's the thing.
So it sounds like SNEAKO in his original video like over exaggerated the number or the amount of hate crimes that are happening, which is obviously wrong. So you can make an argument that he was being like racist in some capacity. But like I mean, that's from what I've heard from Asian people. Like I think that like that might be an anecdotal thing, but there could be some Asian communities that say is like, hey, this has happened. This is a bigger issue in our community. It's possible. But okay.
But here's the thing: a lot of black people believe that, you know, 1 out of 2 cops is going to shoot them in the fucking head when they get stopped.
Yo, just because I'm like saying a problem, I'm not trying to undermine another problem.
No. But here's the truth.
But you keep bringing up things like Tamir Rice. And
I brought up. Look, I'm not saying that you are. SNEAKO, hold on. I'm not saying that. I don't want to mute you, bro. Let's just have this dialogue, right? Because we're not gonna run out of time. You feel me? Like, so let's just. I want this to be constructed. I brought up Tamir Rice to communicate that passion and anger you felt when you saw that woman being attacked like that. I know exactly how you feel, and so do a lot of black people, right? That's the only reason I brought up Tamir Rice. Why I bring up the fact that a lot of black people fear the police is to communicate that black people are more afraid of the police than the statistics justify. That most black people, most interactions between black men and innocent black men and the police do not result in black men getting shot. But even though I know that, and even though a lot of black people may know that, I still get nervous when I get pulled over by a cop. I still go through a list of mental checklist to just make sure I'm safe, because I have been fed this information. I've seen so many examples time and time again. So even though I know the statistics, I still believe it more than it is true. And I feel like I'm a relatively, you know, I'm a conservative person. I lean to the right. And so if that's how I feel, how does the average black person who is usually liberal, who is usually democratic, right? They're terrified of the police. But
not for nothing, but I would argue that most black people aren't really that liberal. Most of them are fairly conservative. They just tend to vote Democrat. Like outside of like the crazies in the Democratic Party, most people they're not like most of like the Democratic Party isn't necessarily like, it's not like super lefty, right? That's kind of just like the reality there. But okay.
Statistics don't bear that out. I'm saying it's even more dramatic with the Asian situation. You technically, and we can look at this. In fact, let me pull this up now. Why? I was trying to stick to a structure, but we can move around in a different structure. Let's talk about the fact that.
Ask your Asian friends. Ask your Asian friends what they think.
Okay.
Honestly.
No, but here's the thing. And that's what's dangerous. What they think is informed by misinformation.
But the problem is, like, I'm not trying to blame all black people. But I'm trying to say, like, it is what it is. It's the same. It kind of is the same thing as black people fearing the police. The numbers will show that if you look at the crime statistics, you'll see that the police don't actually hurt black people more than white people. But if you ask black people, the experience is different.
Right, but I'm saying that is different. I'm saying, but that is also detrimental to the black community. The fact that they fear the police so much, it has made the situation weird. Say it again.
So what are you trying to say about cops?
I'm trying to say that black people don't need to be as afraid of the police as they are.
Word?
Yeah, I 100% believe that and stand on that. I don't believe that black people need to. Are there bad cops? Are there racist cops? Of course. Is one racist cop too many? Definitely. But I'm saying they all saying facts and W. I'm saying that there's overwhelmingly more good cops than there are bad cops. And
but you gotta be aware, but the bad cops, like,
okay. And I'm not saying that Asian people should start to move through life, you know, completely oblivious to their surroundings. If there's someone that is around them that they see that they're suspicious of, if you want to keep an eye on them, I'm not going to tell you not to do that, especially if you're a woman and especially if you're older. But what I'm saying, this general concept, this general perception that is clearly popular in the Asian community, that black people are a huge threat or even a small threat. Here, let me break down, if you can look at the stream while I got up right here.
Or do you have mostly like a black audience?
I'm sure most of my audience is black, but yeah, you know, I had Asian people commenting.
Mine too. All right, guys, I'm down with it. I don't know.
On the videos I posted about this, I'm sure there are Asian people in here. I mean, how many people watching this right now? 879 people. My streams usually average between 300 and 500. So for sure, a lot of those people are your fans, and we know for a fact that you have a sizable Asian audience. So I'm sure there are Asian people in this chat. But let me just.
I'm just trying to see what they think. I'm trying to see, like, if y'all, what do y'all think? Who do you think is committing most of these violent hate crimes on Asians?
Well, it's not most of. It's proportionally higher. So most crimes against Asian people, statistically, from what I've seen, are from white people. Like, yeah, that's an objective fact. It's not about that. It's about like it's about what the proportionality is, and then we'd go from like proportionality to like why is it? And it seems like a lot of it can be explained through like proximity and socioeconomic class or socioeconomic standing.
Matter what they think. In fact, it only matters what they think. It only matters what they think, to the point of the fact that their misconceptions are causing them to be scared when they don't have to be scared. And it's causing them to push this narrative and further perpetuate the racist idea in the Asian community. But bro, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. But we'll get into that. I figured out. Yeah, I figured out what was wrong.
No, I mostly just wanted, like, a lot of Asians messaged me after they said, thank you for talking about this, because a lot of them, they're just afraid to say this, but most Asians will agree with me if you ask them.
And that may be true. And that may be true.
I wasn't spreading anything that, like, people don't already kind of know.
No, but I'm saying just because you believe something doesn't mean it's true. And that is my point. That's the whole point.
But I don't understand how you debunking it with these like 2020 hate crime statistics online is just kind of hypocritical.
How?
Like, I don't know, like, you're picking and choosing when to believe statistics and stuff like that.
What do you mean? Show me the stats. Show me the stats and that support your argument. I'm just showing you the stats, the most recent stats.
I don't think you could find the right stat for that.
And that's incredibly convenient. Hold on.
It's not that convenient. Like, people are getting.
No, I'm saying it's convenient that, you know, you want to disqualify my stats, right? Especially when I went out of my way to try and find the most unbiased sources possible. But then, you know, you're saying that I should just believe it because, you know a few Asian people, right? You couldn't possibly know more than 1,000 Asian people personally.
Not way less than that.
Okay, and I'm saying, like,
there
are millions of Asian people living here. So I'm saying, even if all of your Asian associates...
Have you talked to your wife about this?
Yeah.
What does she think? What does she think?
I can't speak for my wife on this issue, but I've definitely had this dialogue with her. So
wait. It sounds like his wife agrees with it. Now, it doesn't make it true, but you can't do that. Hey, how does your wife feel? I can't speak on her perspective. It sounds like her perspective is that she agrees with SNEAKO. Why do you? It seems like the fact that you're apprehensive about saying that is a little bit dishonest. Why not say, like, hey, et cetera, et cetera? Like, because this other point of, like, oh, maybe just because there might be this fear, like he was talking about with black people, where, like, most cops aren't violent towards black people, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, there's a fear that I have as a black man, even though I know that, like, the statistics don't necessarily reflect the justification for the fear. And we talked about before, like, historical trauma, et cetera. Right? So, like, it wouldn't discount his narrative to just be like, yeah, my wife agrees with you, but I think that she's wrong too. But instead he's like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to bring her up. And it's like, why? If she said something to you, why not respect your wife enough to bring it up?
But here's what I can tell you.
Or her perspective.
Here's what I can tell you looking at the 2020 Asian hate crimes in LA County. Now, as I said earlier, and...
Wait. Okay, let me say. Can I?
Wait, no. Let me finish. Let me say this now. Because this is.
You're gonna read a whole article. I mean,
I'm not going to read a whole article. I already know the points that I want to highlight. Right. So, in LA County, right, there lives 1.4 million Asians. Right. In 2020, there were 44 reported hate crimes against Asian people. Right. Okay. So that is 0.003% of the population. And let me come down here now. And here's the point that I'm trying to make. When you look at these, we can see that only 19% of the people committing these crimes were African American, 36 were Latino, and 42 was white. Now, the numbers...
It says race of known suspects. And
yeah, but right, but that supports... He's showing us information. He's showing us information that proves SNEAKO's argument. We just looked at it. So if you look at, I'm just going to look it up. Like, he's literally proves himself wrong in this fucking thing. All right, so this is referring to LA County. So race, demographic, Los Angeles. I just looked this up early in the stream. If you look at the race demographics and the census, 52% are white and 8% are black. That means that if your population is 52% of white, but the amount of hate crimes coming towards Asians, we're saying, if the amount of hate crimes towards Asians are 42%, that means that white people are committing crimes against Asian people at a disproportionately lower amount to their population. If you look at black people, it's 8%, whereas 19% of the hate crimes towards Asian people are coming from black people. So that is a drastically higher proportionate amount of hate crimes coming from black people. And then if you look at Latino, it's like 26%, and then there's 36% come from Latino. So there's a disproportionately higher amount. But the highest proportionality comes from black people based on your own statistic that you're showing us. Your own statistic disproves your point when it comes down to it. White people are committing to it, and that doesn't make it because it's black. It might be a socioeconomic thing. It probably is. But the point still stands. The point still stands here. Oh, wait, I think I got it. Hold on. I got to get this. We need absolute focus, guys. Beautiful. That wasted so much money and my economy is fucked.
Anti-Asian hate crimes 2020. Well, a couple things we established in the stream, like the hate crimes includes verbal assault, and also right here in the same status says known suspects.
Right. Like, so I'm saying, so
a
what
lot of
is?
these aren't reported. A lot of these aren't reported. A lot of these are immigrants.
I agree. Not it's not that. And just a heads up, we will be running out of time in 10 minutes. So in about 10 minutes, I'm going to resend you the link.
Oh, they're just doing it for free.
What I was trying to say is that no, yes, I 100% agree. I believe that's true of all crimes in all communities. I believe that crimes are underreported. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I'm saying that we have to work with the information that we have, right? And the numbers can't be that extremely different because we are able to we're able to see that 2,871 hate crimes were reported for black people in 2020, and were there more? Most definitely. But these are the kind of numbers we have to work with. What we have to work with, you feel me? So if you can't say sweeping statements like that, not have statistics or information to back it up, and then disqualify the statistics that are there. And again, this was provided by this article was provided by hrc.lacounty.gov. I'll zoom in right there. So this is a government agency that tracks this information for LA County. And here they actually go into some detail and talk about some of the instances. You just talked about, who's more violent. Here we go. November 30, a white male came from behind an Asian Indian man and struck the back of his head, causing the victim to fall to the ground. Wait, let me finish. Two other men.
You said you weren't gonna read the whole article.
I'm not reading the whole article, but I'm reading this excerpt because it's relevant to the conversation. Right?
Well, not really. That's like one instance of it happening. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying like that's. You look at the statistics, disprove what you're saying. Now we're looking at like individual pieces. I'm just saying. I'm bringing it up for context. Okay, all right.
It's relevant to the conversation. And then all right, boom. A Chinese man was sitting in his car parked behind a store. He saw two Latino males pointing at him and laughing. One of the suspects yelled that the victim was a dirty Asian, has coronavirus. The victim felt offended.
We get the point.
Wait, but it continues and it says the suspect continued to yell at the victim and pushed him, causing the victim to drop his phone. There's the shove. So I'm just trying to show you.
Okay, so there's instances. Yes, I agree. There's instances of other people. But like that's not the point that I'm trying to make.
The reason why didn't you hear about those situations? Why didn't you know about those situations?
I don't know because they wrote it in this article.
Because that's not going to sell the headlines.
I told you earlier in the stream that the two instances that I heard about were word of mouth, like people that I know. And so we established that it happens, right? Like Asians are a target, right? Elderly Asian women are a target. They have cash in the house.
We established that, yes. Yeah, that is oftentimes
who is often looking for targets? Criminals, right? Criminals look for targets.
Right.
Are there more black criminals than white criminals in America?
I don't have that statistic present. I don't know.
It's proportionally like yes. That the answer is yes. I don't know. It's okay.
Are there? I don't know. I try not to guess on issues like this, especially when we have the computers right here so we can look.
But you know it's true because you said that like you want to remove like black gang members from it, which makes sense. I get what you're saying because you don't want it to reflect poorly on black people in general. Totally understand that. But he's just talking about he's just having like a general conversation. It's weird. Like I feel like we don't really have a direction for this conversation. This could have been summed up and there is a disproportionate amount of violence towards Asians from black people. But that's not because black people are inherently more dangerous. it's because of like systemic racism and historical like issues. That would have been, we could have just summed it up in like 2 seconds, to be honest with you. So we're going a little kooky here.
You don't have an opinion on that? You can't even answer. Like, who do you think that is robbing more? Who do you think is looking for targets more?
I don't know.
Well, they do call it Robin Hood. You get it? Because it's happening in the hood. Please don't tell my mom. Please don't cancel me.
In certain communities, who I would suspect, if you go to the ghetto parts of Chinatown, I'm sure they're going to be, Asian people and Latino people doing more than black. But if you go to, somewhere that's a highly black populated area, then of course the main offenders are going to be black. It's not a race thing. It's a poverty thing. It's a poor thing. So it doesn't matter.
Black people are more likely to be poor in America than white people.
There are more poor white. You started the stream saying there are more poor white people than there are poor black people.
Poor whites overall, but there's way more rich whites than rich blacks. Like,
well, there's more poor white people overall, but proportionally there's more poor everybody else. That's how we know systemic racism is part of the reason we know systemic racism exists. Okay, it's an interesting thing.
Whites control.
Yeah, no, statistically, but what is your point in saying that?
Is that there's more black people in poverty.
Okay, and not all black people in poverty are criminals.
Okay.
But people in poverty, yeah, but you said that people in poverty are more likely to be criminals. Like, that just naturally
That's true.
happens.
That is true. People who don't have are more likely to steal than people who have a lot.
So if there's more black people, more common to be poor, more common to be criminals, like, who's committing more petty theft?
Even if it was black people, you've just proven my point that it's not about race. So why is it Asian hate?
Okay.
If that same criminal went and targeted an old black woman or an old white woman, which these people...
Well, they're most definitely... they're guaranteeing you, like, they're attacking them for their race. They're attacking them because they're black. Of course. Why is this more expensive now? It's supposed to be 19,000. It's just that, like, that racism, that ignorance comes from, like, there's more ignorance in poverty. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes from. Like, other races are racist. It's just that ignorance comes from poverty. So that's the kind of point here.
As well, is it now black hate or Latino hate or white hate, or was this just a desperate poor criminal that committed a violent crime so that he can acquire some resources illegally?
My problem in the beginning, like, the reason I made that video,
it's probably racist.
Kind of lumps in
like, if you're talking about, because earlier this guy, they both said that apparently there's this like thing where they look at Asians and like it seems like an easier target. If you look at a group of people and you think they're an easier target, like that's racist. Like, there's a racial element there, then for sure. So, like, yes, like, there's a racist element there. Okay.
When the biggest problem since COVID happened is these attacks on old Asian women, and we need to talk about that. Like, that's the issue with Asian hate.
All right, so let's talk about that. The statistics that I found, right, I would have to believe that out of these, when did that occur?
That was like, when what occurred?
The incident that you're talking about with the old woman.
I don't have enough for this. I'm fucking
2 weeks ago. Okay, so that information wouldn't be in any relevant statistics now because it's too recent.
It's also the shift in attitude towards Asians in general has changed because of COVID. Like, we've been the easy target forever, but then COVID made us like kind of hate it.
Okay,
people hate
like
Asians a little more, and they got exposed as an outsider more because of the mask.
And I agree 100% with that. I told you, and that's why I said in the beginning of the stream, I agree 100%.
The regular Asians are getting picked on way more, so it's not even going to be reported half the time. Like, it's just the experience of being Asian is different. I don't experience it for real, bro. Like, I don't get looked at as an Asian, but the average Asian is getting like, bro, like, I know this guy, he got farted on the train. Like, someone tried to snatch his cane. Like, it's just funny. He's another guy my age, like, just like a dorky Asian, and then it's just regular shit happening. I asked him, like, who's usually doing it? He's like, yeah, it's black people. I'm like, what do you think about it? He's like, I try not to think about it.
Yeah, but you don't think every people in all those races experience things like that, being harassed in the world and not calling the police.
Doing it, like, what race is usually? He's like, yeah, it's usually black people. And I asked him, like, what do you think about it? He said, I try not to think about it because it's uncomfortable.
But here's what he doesn't
want. That's why I made that video, Don, was that he didn't want to even address his experience.
SNEAKO, I'm trying to help you, bro. Like, I really ain't like this is.
Finish my point, bro. His experience was that black people were targeting more, and he was getting bullied more by black people. But he didn't even want to think about it because it's seen as racist. Because you're going to get the reaction that you have. You'll start talking about Tamir Rice, bringing all these statistics, talking about, and you'll try to say that black people are like victimized more when it's not about that.
It's not. I'm not trying to say one is more victimized than the other.
He's not talking about it because he doesn't want to like take away the black experience. Black people have it the worst everywhere. Like, I'm not trying to.
I mean, and that's not even the conversation. I'm not even really trying to.
The reason I made that video was that he can't even talk about that because Asians are not even supposed to speak up in the first place. But his own experience.
All right, but SNEAKO,
to not get canceled.
SNEAKO. Well, here's the thing, right? Again, this is a debate now, right? This is a debate about this topic, right? We have opposing stances on it, right? We cannot rely on anecdotal information, nor can we rely on you just saying, I know a guy that knows a thing, right?
But the objective information that you showed disproves your perspective. I'm just saying, so I'm just letting you know.
Do to to address this situation is look at the information that the police are giving us, looking at the information that the government is giving us. If this is more of a problem.
I was saying that I was trying to explain how like that getting farted on, you're not going to report that. Getting a chain snatch, you don't report that.
Okay, and how do you know they did that because they're Asian? How do you know they didn't do that just because
Asians are easy targets?
But how do you? Okay,
you want to get your chain snatched like randomly on the street because you look more intimidating.
Yeah, but what if I was? But you don't think?
See a little Asian kid, they're gonna try to snatch it.
Yeah, but you don't. You're telling me that they're wait. So wait. Has that happened to you? Has a nigga come up and fart in your face?
No.
Why not?
I don't think I'm seen as an Asian person like.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's how you carry yourself as a man and your stature.
Do I carry myself like most Asian men? No.
But.
Interesting. Okay.
I have the demeanor.
But the point is, it's not like, oh, but my point is people pick on the people they think they can get away with picking on. It doesn't.
But dude, this is so weird. So like, if your argument is that the only reason Asian people are getting disproportionately targeted by black people is because they're like too feminine in some capacity, then that's kind of racist because you're kind of justifying. You're like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but like it's kind of justifiable because like they're feminine. I mean, you got to carry yourself. You got to be a stronger person if you don't want to get robbed. That's kind of what we're getting out of this. And it's like, it's just a rough fucking perspective, bro. It's just rough. It's just coming off as a little tone deaf, a little suspicious. It's it's rough. I'm just saying. I don't know. It's just a little too much for me, dude.
Doesn't mean that there is a racist basis to it.
So there we go. There's the agreement in this debate. Not only do Asians need to like step up and stop being such a target, but black people need to like also take it. Not black people, but everybody needs to just realize, okay, like bullying is bad. It's that simple.
Sure.
That's not how to look. Here's the thing. Criminals are going to do criminal activity. You feel me? That is assault. That is my whole thing. I had two main goals when it comes to clarifying what I feel like you hold as misinformation. One, I wanted to clarify that it is not mostly black people. It is not mainly black people that are committing these assaults against Asians.
It's just disproportionately higher amount of black people, but okay.
Right? So that's
one. There's a lot of cuts, man. I don't know. It feels a little dishonest. Like it's the muting SNEAKO at times, the constant cuts in a conversation. I don't think you should be like cutting conversations. Like I think it kind of reduces it a little bit and it gets like a little, I don't know. It kind of leads down like a bad path to me when you're cutting up conversations so much. I just don't like it, you know? It's like it doesn't feel like you're portraying everything.
Too, and you keep bringing up white people in the Asian community, talk a lot about that it's black people. They say it's black people. You feel like it's always black people. I'm gonna show you in a second that is a complete result of underlying Asian racism that is prevalent throughout.
It's just so interesting. It's so weird that you're like spinning the narrative that the narrative here is that black people aren't racist, but the Asians are the true racists. I mean, that is a little racist, I feel like. I mean, the way that you're presenting this is a little bit racist yourself. You're saying like, no. Every time black people attack like Asian people, it's not because of racism. It's some other issue. But Asian people, they are very racist. And like there is a lot of racism in within people in general. Like a lot of cultures. Of course, I understand that. But like it just seems like everybody else is like the bad guy except for people that you may identify with. And again, the real bad guy is white people. The real bad guy is systemic racism. We understand that. But it doesn't feel like we're not talking about it in that way. We're talking about it where it's like, I don't know. It just feels like the nuance is dead. Or there's a dead nuance here, you know what I mean?
The Asian world. So that is the reason.
Who's your closest Asian friend? Can you have someone you could FaceTime? Like an Asian friend you could FaceTime?
That is not going to accomplish anything.
I just wanted to just to see what he...
Because, dude, it's just so weird. It's so weird. It just feels like so shitty. Because aren't you stereotyping all Asians out? You don't want people to stereotype black people based on like crimes that they commit. I understand that. 100% makes sense. But then you want to stereotype like Asian Americans for the racism in like their country and like their home country. I know that there's a spot right here and like I just cannot find it. We found it before and it's like so frustrating. Can we find it? Okay, we're not gonna find it.
Trust his opinion, just to see what he thinks.
That is not going to accomplish anything, SNEAKO.
Why?
No, you don't think some people's experience.
So fundamentally, like you should listen to people's experiences. Like that's a big foundation of like the conversation with like black people. It's like, can you just listen to us? You know what I mean? Like that's a whole thing. So like, yeah, you should listen to experiences. What is this guy talking about?
Does it matter?
When we're talking about whether or not black people are the perpetrators, the black people, you said it yourself, the Stop Asian Hate movement is as a result of black hate. But I'm trying to explain to you, why is it a result of black hate when black people aren't even the ones committing most of these crimes?
And we just were talking about why the statistics can be inaccurate. Getting farted on is not reported. Getting a chain snatch is not reported.
Well, dude, again, it's like okay, you proved yourself wrong with the proportionality argument, but okay, let's just
getting shoved is not reported a lot of time.
I mean, but SNEAKO, let's call it
like proportionately, black people commit crimes against Asian people at like a drastically higher rate. What was it, like 8% of the black people, but like 19%? As opposed to, whatever. We already talked about this.
Those are at best anecdotal.
Can you also agree that
and at worst made up.
Is this statistic and not like biased? I mean, it's not biased, but is it not off? Like, yes, black people might not be reported.
It's from the. Listen, do you think? Who do you think is more likely to contact the police? Black people or Asians? You keep asking about what do we think. Who do you think is more likely to contact the police when something has happened? Okay, so I'm saying that these are the statistics we have to work with.
Crime, bro. Like if you get farted on the train, is that a hate crime?
Am I gonna lose here?
Why are we talking about? I don't know. Can you prove to me that an Asian man was farted on the train?
Now you're putting it. Now I'm seeing the point. Like it's reported as a hate crime. That lady, the video. I made the video about that. She got shoved over in the parking lot. Is that a hate crime?
Yeah. If it was because she was Asian.
I don't think so. I think that's an assault. It's not because she was Asian. That's what I'm saying. A lot of
no. Listen what I'm saying. You said if a person, if that woman was shoved over, she wasn't robbed. He yelled racist slurs. Then yeah, that's.
He didn't yell anything racist. He didn't yell that video. He didn't yell nothing racist. He just drove off.
So how is it? So then if it's not, then what's the whole stop Asian hate about? If it's not hate crimes going on?
My point is that these statistics are inaccurate, bro. Because like all the shit that I'm talking about is not reported as a hate crime. That's just a lady getting hit.
That's not true. That is not true, SNEAKO.
That's not reported as a hate crime, bro.
How do you know that?
Because that's just assault. Why would that be a hate crime? A hate crime, you need to say chink to do it. Now it's a hate crime. Half the time, when you get farted on the train, they don't say chink. They just fart on you.
So sorry. This is
chink? Nah, they just fart.
Okay.
The whole farting thing is just, I'm immature.
You're saying that there are crimes that are being committed against Asians that aren't getting reported as hate crimes.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you. Not all crimes are reported, and not all
crimes are reported, and they're also mostly not reported as hate crimes. Like half the time, when if Asian people are getting robbed more, if Asian people are getting targeted more, that's just results of what's happening. I swear to God, 90% of those are not hate crimes. Hate crime. What is the definition of a hate crime? Fuck, we didn't even look that shit up. Hate crime definition, bro. Like, how do you even know what gets reported as that? We've been going off that for the whole stream.
It's unfortunate that like SNEAKO is right, but like he's not super prepared for the conversation, so it's coming off like as. It's coming off as a little bit rough, you know what I mean? It's so it's interesting. At least in the proportionality argument, he's right.
It's a hate crime when he intentionally selects the person against whom the offense is committed or intended to be committed, and who are a substantial part because of a belief or perception regarding the race. So you need to have a belief, like you need to be wearing a KKK mask.
So then what you're telling me is that this whole Asian hate...
Shit with the cops, bro. That's why the cops is not reporting how many times black people are profiled. But we know black people are profiled by the police. They treat you differently. They say, boy. They tell you to, like, they slam you against the car. They, like, hold your wrist back. They don't do that to white people.
I've never had that experience as a black man, and I've interacted with the police, you know, easily close to a dozen times. I've never had that interaction. My point, but what you are,
think that black people have a harder time with the cops?
Most certainly, statistically, yeah. But here's the thing: we feel that way because the statistics back that up. It's not just because that's what it feels.
Didn't before he just say that the statistics don't back that up? I could have swore before he said the statistics don't back up that black people are disproportionately targeted. Then now he's saying that they are. He's a little all over the place here. Okay.
Like the numbers add up to that. You feel me? And we can't look. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie, right? Sometimes the numbers may not all be there. Sure, I'll give you that. But at the same time,
okay. So the crime statistics for police, like the police, the amount of times they assault white people versus black people, right? You're saying it's proportionate, right? With something like Trayvon Martin, with something like Tamir Rice, would that have happened to a white guy? Why did Kyle Rittenhouse not get shot?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Even though black people might get profiled by the police the equal amount of times as white people, like you're saying.
I didn't say it was equal.
So you're saying that black people should not fear the police because it's the same with white people, correct?
No, I'm saying because statistically, it is highly unlikely that you will be in an altercation with a police officer if you cooperate. That's why I believe black people shouldn't be afraid of the police because statistically, most likely, it's going to go just fine if you cooperate.
But you have to say that. You're pointing out that black people have a harder time with police because white people don't even have to think about how they act around the police. You need to give a precedent to black people. So you're saying they have a harder time with the police because police profile black people. You're just giving a result. You're giving. To avoid it.
No. I'm not. Look, I'm saying statistically. I'm saying statistically. Yes. Are there more negative interactions with the police? And I can't speak to 100% because I don't have those numbers in front of me. What I am trying to say is for the very same reason. Let me finish, NEAKO, because I've been letting you. You know what I'm saying? For the very same reason. Why I don't believe that it is in a black person's best interest to walk around with this fear of just the police in if they're law-abiding, regular citizens, I don't believe that Asians should be walking around with this fear of black people, in particular when they're, is that Asian hate fear, does it exist for white people? Does it exist for Latinos? Why is it black people when black people are committing the least amount of crimes against and so let's talk about, no, my turn, SNEAKO. No, because you keep seeming to overlook it, but let me get down to why that is. And I'm about what I'm about to say, right, is going to be very revealing. Why it is that Asian people feel as if black people disproportionately are targeting them, right? And before we move on to that, if we're
because Asians are the true racists. We're fighting racism with racism, boys.
Go with the statistics again. I just want to hammer home something very important. If we're looking at LA County, right, 1.4 million Asians, 44 victims, right? Just work with these numbers. We agree that they're not representative of the entirety, but I doubt it's if they got it wrong on one group, they probably got it wrong on every group. You feel me? And it's not like, oh, they reported 44, but 4,000 happened. Because as you said, Asians have no problem, no hesitation calling the police when the police need to be called. So if we're going to say, okay, there are 1.4 million Asians living in LA County, and there were only 44 victims of reported hate crime, that is 0.003% of the population. Do you know what the chances of the 44 victims, only 9 of them were victims at the hands of black people? 9 out of 1.4 million. No, let me finish, SNEAKO. I'm going somewhere with it. Only 9, right? And here are those numbers right here. Just again, link in the description, but also just so you see it on the screen. So I'm not, it was 44.
Oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this.
44, 2020, right? And then only 19% of that was African Americans. When you do the math, you get 9, right? So okay.
But we just talked about how.
What are the chances? What are your chances of getting struck by lightning?
Very little.
It's 0.002%. When 0.001% of black people are committing these crimes, and when they're on 0.003% of Asians are being victims of these crimes, you should be just as afraid of getting struck by lightning as you should be of black people in the Asian community. Okay, I'm trying to, and I'm not trying to, and I'm, wait, let me finish, SNEAKO, let me finish, bro. Please, just allow me to get where I'm saying. Because in saying that, I'm not trying to undermine. One is too many, but I am saying it is so rare that to try and say that there is this nationwide problem going on in the black community, in the Asian community. I'm saying, bro, it's not, these are individual, rogue, horrible people doing horrible things, but it's not a black thing. It's not a black on Asian thing.
So we disagree. We disagree ultimately. But we can look back at the stream and like a couple, let me just ask you, like, as time progresses on, like, we'll keep in contact, everything. Like, I do got tips in my, I want to celebrate my girl.
Wait. And then I want to, all right, I mean, you're free to leave. I can't hold you here, Austin.
I know, let's look back at this. Let's look back at this in like a couple months. Like, just keep this in mind and everything. And maybe ask your Asian friend.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a pointless conversation. I mean, I know this young Vaughn keeps saying like, oh, like, let me finish. But he's like going off on a tangent. For a very long time. So this is like a thing. So it makes sense to like you bring up a point. Okay. But like you just roll, he's just talking. He's not really getting anywhere. He just keeps saying things. And then when he doesn't finish his like tangent, he's like, oh, you're not listening to me. It's like, holy fuck. You know what I mean? Get a Temple Boss 3 instead. It's cheaper and it'll carry you to around 100. What the fuck is Temple Boss 3? Are you talking about what? Are you talking about this? Sun Avatar? What are you talking about? Sun Temple will carry me to. I just feel like I need better banana farms. I think that's my issue.
Because these statistics, I tried to point out on the stream, could be inaccurate. Like, they're not all reported. Hate crimes, you need to say chink and then push someone to do it. When you get shoved over, it's not a hate crime. It's just a crime. It's just assault. That's just assault.
So if it's a hate crime, why is the hashtag stop Asian hate, and why is this in the minds of Asian people?
The sentiment of the stream has been to take statistics and to disregard like personal experience.
So
because hold on. Because they could be.
Bro, I don't know what to say at this point, because if you're saying statistics don't matter, that's crazy, bro.
I'm not saying that, Tom. I'm not saying that.
The statistics support SNEAKO. That's the funny part. The statistics are in favor of what SNEAKO is saying. Your statistics prove that there's a disproportionality.
You're saying, I'm providing you this.
In the next couple months, ask your Asian friends.
It's gonna be the same thing, and here's why. Before you run off, right? Let me get this off. Why exactly it is that Asian people believe this, right? Okay,
because they're racist.
People believe this when the numbers don't add up.
Yeah,
because Asian people come to this country with underlying racist beliefs about black people and people of color.
That's true.
So do other black people, though. So do other black people. I'm just being like non-native black Americans, would you classify? They come here with the same or the similar prejudice, and for sure it's definitely a factor. But the thing is that like what you're saying though is that there absolutely is like a prejudice. I know that what he's trying to say is that there actually isn't a disproportionately higher amount of hate towards Asian people. They come here and they come here and it's just like they just think that because they hate black people. Problem is that the statistics we've seen, there is a disproportionately high amount of racism. So what you're effectively saying is that, like, without realizing it, based on the way that statistics exist, is that you're saying that Asian people are basically asking for it without like understanding that you're saying that. Like, yeah, there is that issue. There's also issue from any other country really that comes here for sure. It's definitely a factor. But like we're removing nuance and we're being like, nope, it's all Asian people's fault. It's like, no, I mean, I'm sure it's more complicated than that. It just is. Okay.
Wait, let me get it off.
But realistically, like, I honestly, once it became more mainstream understanding, like the Stop Asian Hate thing lasted like a day. Once there became more mainstream understanding that the crimes against Asian people were being disproportionately committed by black people, the narrative dropped because like as a society we don't have enough nuance to understand that just because like black people might be committing these crimes at a higher rate, we don't have the nuance to understand that doesn't mean that like it doesn't mean that there's still not a marginalized group that needs to be advocated for. So BLM and Stop Asian Hate conflicted with each other, and black people like won, right? So
let me get it off. Okay, now let me point out a few examples.
I know, but don't make it a black versus Asian.
No, but that is what exactly what it is. It is a black versus Asian thing.
You're not really helping the problem when you do this. Like it doesn't.
I'm trying to clarify. I'm trying to vindicate black people. I'm trying to show you that you're wrong and Asians by and large are wrong.
But you're not really indicating. What word did he use? Wow, what the fuck? Vindicating black people. SNEAKO's even saying he doesn't think it's because they're black per se. He thinks that it's like socioeconomic aspects. So he's not even saying that it's a black inherent trait. He's just like making this observation.
Thinking that.
Yeah, vindicate. Is he using the word wrong? I feel like he is using it correctly, right? Yeah, he's using the word correctly.
That the person that they are most targeted by, and the people that are the biggest threat to them are black people. Okay. When you think of Stop Asian Hate and you think of black assailants, that is wrong, and it's coming from a racist place. I had all of this.
Why do you think that even that I know? Like I know. I'm in New York City. Like,
it's weird how like SNEAKO's so low. Like he has him so low. Like you don't even have the sound levels adjusted. It's like, kind of weird. It's fucking weird. I'm sure it's unintentional.
I've seen tons of this. Why do you think that that's my experience? Like I'm most.
Why do you think? What is your experience?
That is black people doing this. Because like, bro, all my friends.
Oh, he thinks you're racist.
I don't have that many Asian friends. I don't have an Asian experience in New York City, bro.
Because, like I said in my video, you are informed partially by the media in all of its various forms.
But dude, not for nothing, but the media is trying not to push this narrative. That's the thing, is what you're saying doesn't even make sense. We just talked about Stop Asian Hate kind of died after like the narrative that it was black people came out, right? And obviously it was an unintelligent narrative the way they presented it. But once that happened, the mainstream media is like, oh, we can't really push this narrative anymore because it makes black people look bad. We can't do it. So like you're saying that it's just informed by the media, but you're wrong. You're wrong about that. You just are. What the fuck?
Social media.
Back what you're saying. The media supports your narrative. There's no media that.
No. You're not seeing the video. No, you feel the way you feel. You don't feel the way you feel because you read a bunch of articles and read statistics, Nico. You feel the way you feel because you watched the videos and seen pictures.
No,
I mean, that's kind of diminishing of his experience just as like an Asian person. Do you imagine that somebody was like, you feel the way that you feel because you're being manipulated, not because you have a genuine experience, even if it's anecdotal. But like it gets into this huge fucking like wokeism bullshit where it's like, oh, it's not even a genuine feeling you're having. This is just what the man's telling you. It becomes like too woke. You're just kind of minimizing this guy's experience.
People, bro. I know these people.
Okay, like I said, like you admitted, you don't know that many though.
Yeah, I've heard more accounts about this than I know Asian people. Isn't that crazy? Like I've heard about this more than I know about like personal Asian people in my life. That's my experience. Like,
what do you mean you've heard about? So I'm saying, how can you
more attacks than I know about?
Right, but I'm saying just because you don't hear about the white attacks, I do. Like the one in the salon, gunned down. That's a white crime, bro. That's the only one. That's the only one you know.
Yeah, all the other ones like the shoving, bro, the punching, that's
the getting hit in the back of the head with a brick.
Yeah, but that in New York and LA apparently it's been black on Asian. And the media is not reporting this. There's no narrative of this in the news. If you could show me that, then like my whole thing.
There's no narrative of what?
There's no narrative of what I'm saying in the mainstream media. There's no narrative that black people are the ones doing the crime.
So you're telling me that if I look up right now, black on Asian, violent assault, New York, nothing's gonna come up.
No,
Oh, what, dude? That's so disingenuous. That's not what you're saying. You will obviously get things that support whatever you're like. If you look that up, what he's saying is it's not a popular media narrative. It's not a popular media narrative. It's not like pervasive enough to change people's minds about it. It's like, bro, come on, you're being so dishonest. This is crazy, dude.
The article, like the instances will pull up, but no opinion articles about that. There's no narrative being pushed. There's no like mainstream thing saying that. There's no push for that.
The narrative is formed. The narrative is formed when they omit the other occurrences, when the whites and the Latinos are doing, when the fact that you're only.
But they're not omitting it. You showed so many articles that had it. They're not omitting it.
They're omitting it on primetime television. They're not saying that they're not.
I don't watch TV. Why do you think that I'm like digesting CNN and NBC? I don't.
Whatever you want to call it, the media, SNEAKO.
Oh, it was Instagram stories. I know China Mac personally.
Okay.
He heard about it happening. The other one of the video.
But they don't talk about this on the internet. Like, I mean, they don't talk about this on the mainstream media. What is his point? I'm so confused.
A friend, a guy I've met at parties before, and he messaged me afterwards.
SNEAKO, you can't win this on using anecdotal information, bro.
You don't think anecdotal information is important?
I do think that the moral grandstanding is a little shitty because this guy, listen, not trying to be an asshole. This guy isn't super informed on what he's talking about, and then he's kind of being like diminishing towards SNEAKO, and it's like, come on, bro, like come on.
I feel like it can be supplementary, but when you have hard, solid numbers in front of you, then you gotta go based off of that because you're only one person.
The numbers,
you're only one
your
person.
own numbers
It's impossible for
discredit what you're saying.
The whole picture.
Do you trust the news, Don?
Obviously not, because you think this is primarily a black problem. Right. That's exactly my point. I'm not using the news. I'm using the statistics that are coming from the. I'm using the statistics that are coming out of the police. I'm using the police. The LA County, like I said, SNEAKO. Look, it's right here in front of your eyes, bro. It's right here in front of you.
That's the article that disproves him, by the way. He's using it as like an objective fact, but that's the article that like disproves what he's saying. So it's just a little bit funny because of that. Because he's like, you're right here. This is the evidence, but that evidence states that there's a disproportionate amount of the crime happening. You know, so it's a little sussy.
Your eyes, so LA County.gov. This is not the news. This is the government. Yes, the police. The police.
He's yelling.
What else am I going to go off of about the police reports to know what this is happening? So you're telling me that when you see why do you believe? Hold on, wait. Why do you believe? Let me switch the camera. Why do you believe that most of the murder in this country happens by black people? Why do you believe that?
Because
FBI statistics, I guess. I don't know.
More black people are poor, and
why do you believe that?
Because of slavery.
Because of slavery?
Well, yeah, because we have an understanding of systemic racism. That's what I guess that would be. Is that the answer he's looking for? Like,
you don't believe that there are more poor black people are statistically more poor because you read data that suggests that black people are statistically more poor? And where do you think that information is coming from?
Why are you yelling? Holy shit! This guy's such a fucking toxic asshole. Holy moly, brother! What are you yelling for, bro? It's getting a little kooky in here.
Well, bro,
the government. So if you can trust that, if you trust that information,
I'm not going. This is anecdotal experience. Black people are in the projects more often. They've made project housing.
How do you know that?
Because I see them.
You've seen all the black people. You've been to all the projects.
Bro,
yes.
I can look around.
I know every black
all
person
the black
in the
people.
world.
You've been to all the projects.
You really trust it. I don't understand how much you trust statistics.
I'm saying we do that for everything. That's all we can go based off of when we're talking about such a large group of people, because nobody knows everybody and nobody can be everywhere. And you trust those statistics when they're convenient. Do you believe that Asian Americans are the most successful people in this country statistically?
No, Jews are, right?
No.
I think Jews are on top.
Okay, you believe Jews are on top? Why?
Because they've always controlled money forever.
I think. Oh my god. Bro, the anti-Semitism is incredible. Holy shit. Okay, so statistically, Asian people outperform white people in America. Okay. Now the thing that's why they're considered like the model immigrant, but if you look at the data from what I've seen, Asians have like a very large differential between their rich and their poor. So like it's larger than like where for white people it's more like here, rich and poor, but for Asians it's like much higher. So there's a bigger gap. But this whole anti-Semitism angle is not looking particularly good for you, SNEAKO. Incredible, really incredible.
So you know there's just no like actual basis to any of your beliefs or arguments, and just feelings.
I read.
What the
I talk
fuck?
to people.
What do you read? What do you read?
I read books,
What,
watch movies.
and so you've read books that have told you. So that information in the book, where do you think it came from?
There's always conflicting information, Don. But you take what you present to you. Even though you read articles, it's still anecdotal because you trust some and you distrust some. It's still
which one am I distrusting?
I don't know.
Well, that's not what anecdotal. It refers to like a life experience, so that's not really how you would use the term anecdotal. But okay.
My consistency is I'm going straight to the government reporting agencies, the one that don't have.
I don't think you trust the government, so I don't know why you're saying that, but I also don't think you trust the government.
I'm saying if we don't go based off this and we just go based off of the way people feel, like the way you're saying, it is, SNEAKO.
I think anecdotal information is more important than these articles. Yeah, I think that. Like,
why?
Well, then I can't. I mean, at that point the conversation is over because you're going based off of. You have
not really helping.
You have no
evidence.
evidence.
I will read some articles. I'll read whatever articles you want me to read. Do me a favor and FaceTime some of your Asian friends and ask them about it. Ask about their experience.
They feel that way because they were raised in racist families by racist people from a racist culture.
So you think they're completely delusional?
I think that they're extremely misinformed on a large scale.
All of them?
Most of them.
Most Asians are delusional?
I think most Asians are misinformed about how dangerous black people. Yes.
All right. I mean,
and the reason why, because I was trying to get to this before you looked like you was trying to leave. But if you're going to be here for even just another 5 minutes, I can show you why I believe that. That is not based off of a feeling. I am telling you that because this is recorded fact. Okay, so one, I can start off just by showing you examples of how racism still persists on a large scale, unapologetically, in the Asian community today around the world. Right? Blackface during state-funded Chinese Lunar Year Gala in 2021.
You a bunch of articles about like, Asians being racist towards black people?
No, wait, let me finish what I'm saying.
Is that what you're doing?
I am trying to show you that in Asian culture, it is still very much accepted to be racist against black people in 2021.
Bro, I'm not disagreeing with you.
So I'm saying because I'm saying if you are racist against black people, why won't you believe that they're inclined to think the worst of us? Maybe to a degree that is unjustified.
What do you mean?
It's just like when white people back after slavery created a narrative that black men are going around raping all of the white women. Was that statistically accurate? Of course not.
So yeah, no. Somebody in the chat said like, oh, okay. So like, he's not wrong about there being like a higher amount of like anti-black racism in Asian areas. Asian countries tend to be tend to be more racist in general. Not that the white countries aren't. Look at fucking Poland. All right, it's just like, but the problem is that like his entire narrative, what he's trying to say is that there isn't actually a disproportionately higher amount of crime against Asian people. Or against Asian people from black people, that it's a lie, but it's actually like not a lie. It's but he's just, there is a higher one, so that like kind of just deconstructs his narrative. That's the problem, is that like he's avoiding like the reality of the statistics, and SNEAKO isn't doing a good job of contesting that. This is why he's like, I guess, technically winning the debate, even though he's like wholly wrong. But
and did it ever happen? More than likely, niggas rape. It happens. And by niggas, I mean everybody, men in general. And stay with me here. The point I'm making, the point I'm making, SNEAKO, because that sounded crazy. I'm not gonna lie. That sounded crazy. I'm not gonna lie. But the point I'm making is that when narratives are formed, not based on actual evidence or facts, and those narratives are allowed to permeate through a society or through a group of people that are already racist against those people, they're going to think the worst. They're going to think it's happening more than it actually is. They're going to think that it's happening in worse ways than it actually is.
That's a good point.
But here, let me finish. Wait, SNEAKO. No, bro. No, bro. Let me finish. I promise you, if you let me finish this point as to why I am, because I also want to do this for the people watching this, because there's a lot of Asian Americans, I'm sure, are probably thinking I'm exaggerating right now, just how bad the racism problem is in Asian America and in Asia in general. And also, there's a lot of black people who underestimate how racist the Asian community is against black people and people in color.
You're making it worse.
I have to go there. We have to. The truth never makes things worse. The truth never makes things worse. It never does.
You're not really speaking the truth.
Lies make shit worse.
That's not what we're talking about.
He's not even speaking the truth, though. That's the problem.
Yes, it is. It's at the heart of exactly what we're talking about. The reason this narrative exists is exactly because of these racist sentiments that exist in their community.
The fact that like those Asians like are messaging me now, and like a bunch of like young Asians are messaging me saying,
of course they're gonna message.
Hold on, bro, wait. And a lot of them are watching the stream, and they're like, yo, like thanks for talking about this. Like I've been thinking this for a while. Like, yeah, I'm glad that you said. Someone finally said it. The reason that the farted on friend says like, oh, I don't want to think about it, is because they don't want to add fuel to the fire. Because like Asians aren't. A lot of these Asians are like cool people, bro. A lot of Asians like just don't want to talk about it because they don't think poorly towards black people at all. Like a lot of Asians really admire.
But I'm saying the fact, no, look,
the dances, they
look,
steal everything. They steal chicken, they steal everything. Like the Asians love black culture a lot, especially the young ones. But a lot of them are saying this to me and are glad that I'm.
Black people like Asian culture a lot too. I've gone to Hot Topic. A lot of black people there. Nothing wrong with that. Just saying. Okay, goes both ways. Bro, I feel like my farm is not good at all. Like I had better farm last time. I think I went for these banana farms too soon, and it's kind of fucking my flow up a little bit. A little disappointed about that. Little upset about it. I will say that much. But okay, let's see what we can do here.
Talking about this because they're like, this is something that I know, but it's uncomfortable because I don't want to talk about this and seem like I'm racist because I'm not racist, but this is my experience.
But you're saying but I'm saying the reason they feel that way.
Their experience is not coming from a racist place. It's coming from genuinely just like life, getting farted on the train, getting a chain snatch.
This farting thing is killing me, dude.
Asians used to get Febreze on the train in New York. They used to get in the beginning of COVID, like to try to like sanitize them. Who's doing that? You know, and they don't want to talk about it because Asians don't want to speak up. Asians don't want to like talk about their experience. Asians don't really have like a platform, bro. How many Asian YouTubers really speak up about shit like this? How many Asian YouTubers?
But what I'm trying to say though, if
on this level,
what I am saying is when the numbers don't bear that out, and when Asians themselves, you're telling me an Asian doesn't want to report something to the police when they've been harassed or attacked because they don't got to get up on social media and try to go viral on TikTok and talk about it. Why wouldn't they report it to the police?
I mean, because it's kind of funny to get farted on. You know, you don't want to report that. That's not a crime. Is that a crime? Getting farted on or getting your chain snatched but not taken? Like someone tries to grab your chain.
Bro, you're contradicting yourself, bro. You're because on one hand, the issue that I'm trying to tackle here is that one, black people do not disproportionately harass Asian people.
But they do.
Other races.
And I also don't think. Do you think that you could accurately find that data?
What the fuck did I do differently last time?
You could accurately find that data.
I'm using the best data. If you have better information, please provide it. But I'm using the best information that I can.
Basically, the summary of this argument is that I'm going off anecdotal and you're going off stats. But I just think it's contradictory because I think you just trust the government and media as much as I do, so you wouldn't trust that. And I thought that you would go off of like experience and like word. I thought conversations could be more beneficial.
But here's the thing. Because I know that there's this underlying racism in the Asian community, how can I be willing to believe this Asian narrative that black people are the problem when I know
because the statistics support it
that there is a slant against black people in the Asian community?
I'm not trying to say that black people are the problem. I'm trying to say that petty crime like that on Asians, like Asians getting targeted more recently, it's more often black people. That's what I'm trying
The ones you've heard of.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the best I can go off.
What a conversation.
So I'm saying just because you've heard of that,
and you say you don't want to say the
dangerous.
Stats, and you say you don't want to believe the stats, but then you see all these articles about like the brick, or you see the article, or you do see the
Let's try to bang the rest of this out because it's almost over.
Some reported as hate crime. Like a lady getting pushed over in the train by.
You don't think that article of this? Of course, they get reported as hate crime. Unless it's not a hate crime. If it's clearly a hate crime, why do we then, as the onlookers?
How do you determine what's hate crime or not? If they say chain get pushed, can you tell me how you can accurately determine hate crime?
How do you?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I don't know.
So I'm saying if you're
why are there so many cuts?
You can't make it a race thing.
That's true. Okay, but I'm not trying to say that black people are like singling out Asians. I'm saying Asians are getting targeted more, and it's more often black.
The ones you've heard about, not.
We're going circles.
Exactly, and that's the point I'm making. And look, if you're not gonna let me go through this, we can end it, and I'll go through it like after you leave.
I gotta go.
Yeah, but look, man. At the end of the day, it looks like we're gonna have to agree to disagree. And for those of you watching, I'm about to explain right now why it is that I'm saying what I say, where I'm coming from when I'm explaining the racist culture, Asian culture, and why, if the statistics don't add up, why it is unwise to trust anecdotal information from people who have a slant against black people, especially in a country where there has always been an agenda to paint black people in the worst light. But SNEAKO, I'm not going to keep you any longer, man. Thank you for taking the time to have this conversation. I'm sure the people enjoyed hearing our various takes. And yeah, man, I really just feel like you got this wrong. You're misinformed on this, and I think maybe like you said, watch this video back, and then maybe you'll see where I'm coming from, bro. Because
call some of your Asian friends. Do me a favor and ask some of your Asian friends what they think. And if they just try it with an open mind, genuinely ask them.
Okay, all right, guys. Well, that's SNEAKO. You want to tell them where they can find you?
SNEAKO, look me up.
Yeah, SNEAKO. He'll come up if you Google it, and all the various social media platforms. I'll link to his channel down below. But SNEAKO, thank you for coming. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. How about you like the video and subscribe?
All right, so I feel compelled to comment. Okay, I think this is good. The statistics that you even showed reinforce the narrative that black Americans commit violence against Asian Americans at a disproportionately higher rate. There's obviously a conversation to have about socioeconomic standing, systemic racism, and normalized racism in Asian countries as well, but you seem more adamant to shift the entire narrative against Asian people rather than to have an honest and contextually accurate conversation. Based on the article that you showed, these are the races of the known suspects in the Asian hate crimes in Los Angeles County. White, 43%. The racial demographics in Los Angeles County. This shows that the proportion of race, black Americans, Asian, more than double the population compared to white people, roughly 80% of the population, roughly 50%. Out of roughly 150% of their... Boom. Okay, this is pretty good. We're good. We're good, guys. Boom. Beautiful. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.